What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast, episode number 183. Tonight, Steve Santos is here. Cristiano was here earlier, but he had to leave, so I'm in a studio by myself. But Steve Santos is here, which is always a good thing. What's up, Steve?
Hey, sorry, I'm a little bit late, but there's a Portuguese saying that says what? Mais vale tarde que nunca. There you go.
something, something
Something
like
like that.
that.
There you go.
On tonight's podcast, we will look back at the Rio Ave game. We'll also look at the Taça da Liga, which gets going just before the year ends. And we'll look ahead to a very, very busy January month for Benfica with a total of 8 games to start off the year. So without further ado, let's get right into the Stubble.
Stubble. Força.
It's the same colors. That's why the Rio Ave game Stubble was a couple weeks ago. And we
Not
did
too
well.
far.
We did well on that one too.
Yeah.
So the Rio Ave game, I'll give you the lineup: Júlio César, Lisandro, and Jardel, and Almeida and Eliseu across the back, Samaris and Sanchez. In the middle, Pizzi and Guedes on the wings, Jonas and Mitroglou up front. Samaris making his return. Didn't take him too long to pick up a yellow card.
Yeah,
I think
sadly.
it was like 5 or 7 minutes into the game, and he's picking up a yellow card, which obviously can't play the next game because that's already too many yellow cards for too many successive yellow cards. So he's going to have to sit out, which will give it another chance to Fesa. I know that we have talked ad nauseum here about Fesa and Samari's the way they're matched up with Sanch. But I don't know. I don't know what else to add. I don't know what Rui Vitória is trying to do by mixing them up, by bringing one in one week and the other one the next week. I'm not really sure. It just adds, and to reinforce our point, Steve, that the idea is that Rui Vitória has, they're a little mixed up at the moment.
Yeah, there's never been a real clear-cut game plan from him, so it's not anything new that he's switching in between the two defensive midfielders, which, like we said last week, to me is probably the most important position on the pitch. The one thing, just to get back on Samaris, if there's one thing that I could always knock him for is he makes a lot of overly aggressive fouls when he doesn't really necessarily need to. As you guys would know, the regular listeners of the podcast will know he's one of my favorite players on the side. It's a guy who I like to watch play, but you got to learn how to just make a foul that will just stop the play. It doesn't have to be a really aggressive tackle, really trying to win the ball when it's not there to be won. All you really got to do is make it known that the play is stopping there, that the guy's going to go down. It doesn't have to be as violent as it normally is from him. It doesn't have to be as reckless as it normally is from him. I think right now, off the top of my head, I can't really remember the play that brought on this yellow, but there was some talk that we were harshly done by the referees, that was not very a fair yellow to get that early in the match. To be absolutely honest, I don't remember the play off. I didn't write it down, so I don't really remember. But there was a lot of people saying that it was not a yellow card play, especially
It was soft.
It was soft. There you go, and that leads to the press conference at the end after the match, where yet again we're discussing refereeing decisions and stuff like that, which I'm not too much of a fan of.
Yeah, it was soft. There was a complaint about 3 calls which could have gone our way.
Yeah.
I think there's one with PT where he's going for a shot, and the guy puts a stiff arm on him, throws him off balance. He was still able to get off the shot, but you can see there's a clear intention of fouling PT in the middle of a shot. We didn't get that. The two handballs that happened inside the box that came off headers against hands by the Rio Ave players. I've seen them given for less. Could have definitely been penalty kicks, but I've also Depends on which way you look at it. Depends on which angle the referee was at. I think that on both occasions the ball came to the hand, not the hand to the ball. But it all depends on the referee's interpretation. How how it impedes the way the ball is going, where the
I,
ball is going.
those are always calls that I hate to play or hate to. Well, I would hate to call, and I hate the way they get called because everyone has a different interpretation. Is it a natural movement where the guy's hand is? Was he intending to it? Is it ball to hand? There's way too many variables to be left up for interpretation. For me, I've never liked those handballs in the box because all three of them, if they were outside the box, I bet you would get called.
Yeah, no, probably, most likely they would.
So that's that. I hate gray areas in football, and I know a lot of people will say that that's like part of what makes the game interesting. But
Yeah,
when it's that kind of stuff, it really I wish there was a more concrete answer for the handball in the
yeah.
box.
A lot of I'm well, I don't know if it's fortunate or not, but I'm a certified referee myself, and
And that's why I don't like
a
it.
lot, a lot of it, when you're taking these classes with these instructors, a lot of it they tell you that a lot of it is common. It's common sense. It's an almost an instinctive thing on your part. It doesn't have to be black and white. It all depends. It has a lot to do with interpretation. It has a lot to do with your positioning. It has a lot to do on how you're interpreting the play. So a lot of guys are going to call different things that other guys would. I think that for your conspiracy theorists out there, I think that the yellow card early on Samaris is something that conditions the behavior of a player or the attitude of a player for the rest of the game. So I don't know if there's a certain thing involved in there where the referee is maliciously, going against us or not. But nonetheless, it was definitely something that affected Samaris so much that he was taken at halftime. He was taken out at halftime. But looking at this first half by Benfica, I thought it was, aside from the goal, it was pretty horrible. Again, we see things. There's a lot of guys getting down on us because we're riding off Benfica. Because last podcast I wrote off Benfica basically, and then Sporting went and lost, and we're back at the 5 point gap to the top. The thing that there's this thing, and you often hear this in the media, where the team always they're asked about their opponents. What do you think of this game? They're going to play this team. There's a chance they could lose points, and the team always answers, or the player always answers, "We're going to do our job. We're going to worry about what we do, and we're going to do what we can." And in the same aspect, we look at the way this team has been playing. And really, they really haven't done anything. They haven't done anything to warrant to even be in the fight for the championship, to be honest with you. If they're at 5 points right now, I think those points are probably deserved, the gap. Because we have just been inconsistent from the start of the season. We have been inconsistent throughout the season.
Absolutely. I mean, what does Benfica do well? Really, that's what we have to come back and the way I look at it. I mentioned a while back. There's the four stages of the game, and none of those four stages I feel we do particularly well. There's organized defense, organized attack. I don't think we do either of those that well. And then on the transition, maybe transition counterattacking, we're not that bad considering when you have some technical players in your side like Gaetan and Jonas. When they have less players in front of them, it's always a little bit easier for them to do their work. But defensive on the transition side, I think we're quite poor, and we defend with more players behind the ball than we ever have before, and we're still not that good at it. There's tons of things. I mean, if you're going to analyze every aspect of the game, you're going to find so many things that we don't do well, or it doesn't seem like we have processes for it to do well. You watch Samaris when he has the ball, or even Faisa when he has the ball, and count how many passing options he has that aren't out of this world, crossfield switches or an insane pass to Jonas or something like that. He doesn't have an easy out ball where he can keep the ball playing and moving forward. It's not even just Samaris, really. It's almost everybody.
Yeah.
They have the ball and they have an extremely hard pass to make if they even have that, they might have a guy already so close to him that the only option that they have is going 1v1 versus him. There is a lot of things wrong tactically with Benfica, and it's not even just player personnel. Yes, this is not the best side that we've ever had, but they're not given the groundwork to do the best that they can in the situations that they have appearing in front of them. I'm the more and more I watch, and I know I've said this for a long time now, but the more and more I watch, the less and less I am convinced by a Senor Rui Vitoria.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Yeah, it's all right if you wanna get down on us because we're writing off the team, but we're just calling it basically as we see it. There's nothing wrong with being an optimist and a really diehard fan and believing till the end, until we're mathematically out of this contention. But I mean, from what we see, we really don't see Benfica being a consistent team that could fight for the title at this point in time. And throughout history and throughout all the champions of the league, the team that's been the most consistent has won the league year in and year out. And right now, it's something that we don't have. Terrible first half. And Steve, what you were saying about the options, I feel the same way. It seems that every ball into the box is a clearance into the box. There's no real intention to play a guy to put the ball on the head of somebody to create some danger. The first time we put a ball on a good cross for a guy to score, we scored, which was Carcelo's cross in the second half. But other than that, you got Andre Almeida just looking up and booting balls into the box. Boom. You got Gedge doing the same thing. You got Pizzi doing the same thing. And really, there's not really a clear intention to play. I mean, if your style is going to be to look for Mitroglou or to look for Jonas into the box, at least make it count. Don't just freaking boot it in there. I know you hate the style, Steve, but
it's not my type of football. And the worst part is when you have a Mitroglou in your side, you become you become a little bit more limited into the type of football that you can play. I used to knock Cardozo in the same way that when the guy playing up top is immobile and he doesn't press, it really leads you to only play in certain ways. It's crosses, it's a long ball into him. It makes it difficult to play different ways. But I don't know. I personally would like to see a lot more of what we saw versus Atletico with Jonas playing as the lone striker. I honestly, for me, the way forward is a way where we're going to keep more of the ball and we're going to play a little bit more football. I don't think you call it what you want to call it, this crossing, even though it's I know it makes me look bad and when it's the only way we score, but it seems like it's the only way we can create chances. But it's not, percentages wise, it's not a good way to create chances. I mean, you're playing a ball into the box with one striker in there, maybe two versus three, most of the time four, maybe even five defenders. Just the math alone works out against you. It's not. It's in a game of probabilities or percentages. It's not the right way to go about things. Benfica has a really hard time at this moment creating chances where you're putting the goal that was scored for Jimenez. Those types of goals where you're putting a guy 1v1 with a keeper, or at least in a controlled position inside the box where he can get a shot on target. The cross is always you're fighting with the defender and you're expected to put the ball in one time, which if you're just another hard thing to do. You got to beat your man and you got to place a shot either with your head or with your foot in one touch, because if there isn't a second touch, there's not enough space in there to make a second touch. So
yeah,
the crossing game is not for me. I don't see it as a way forward. I think a team like Benfica in a league like the Portuguese league has to play a type of game that allows their superior quality to show up more often. And 1v1s with crosses into the box for me is not the way forward.
Yeah. And it's, I know that we've gotten down on Vitoria plenty, but for once, he makes two substitutions that directly influence the game. I mean, the Samaris was just position for position, so nothing there. But the Carcella coming into the game, he shook up the game. And I think that Jimenez also at a time where we needed more mobility up front, I thought that was a good option by him. So good substitutions with direct results from Vitoria. So we can't get down too much on him. There was also an increase of intensity as far as the team goes, increase of pace in the final third, where you're moving the ball a lot quicker in the final third, which is how you're going to beat teams in the final third, because every team is going to close themselves in and close passing lanes in the final third. And if you don't play with speed and a lot of movement with the guys up front, you're never going to penetrate a team that's well organized in the back. And I thought that that's what really took for us to win this game, was the increase of intensity after the 65th minute when Carcela comes in, and then Jimenez also to secure the victory at the end. I thought that was a good move and a good read by Vitoria, Steve.
The subs were more or less bang on. I mean, it's exactly what we needed. We needed, like you say, the intensity. We needed Carcelo, who's been on the fringes, but he's got a little bit of that 1v1 ability that we're missing with Gaetan not on the pitch. So he could beat the guy on the 1v1 situations, and then he's got that nice cross into the box. It was absolutely, at that point in the game, something needed to be done. I mean, there was whistling coming from the stands. The team looked flat basically after Rio Ave scores the tying goal from that very nice free kick. The team's flat. So if we were going to give credit to Rui Vitória, it's definitely down to the substitutions, because he got those right. I'm not going to knock him there. He definitely got those.
We got to give him some credit every once in a while.
Yeah, we definitely do. We can't always be negative Nellies, I guess.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I wanted to talk about before we move on to the next topic, Steve. We've kind of been talking about this for the past couple pods, which is Gonçalo Guedes' drop in performance. Do you feel that at this point that Rui Vitória should be doing something to safeguard Gonçalo Guedes to perhaps protect him from the fans, because the fans are getting very restless with Gonçalo Guedes? I mean, we see the whistles, we hear the whistles actually, and at this point, you got to protect the kid that's 19 years old. You got to protect him. A little bit of bench time perhaps will do him well. And Steve, perhaps this is a guy that could come off the bench with strict, direct instructions from Vitória and make a difference then. He's probably not old enough and not experienced enough to be able to read what's happening and what's needed from him from the start of the game.
No, I think you're spot on the money, man. There's not really much I could add to that. It's not only it's tweets that you see all the time. It's the whistles. It's Cristiano going after him for having poor feet. The guy is under scrutiny at the age that he's at. We don't know how he's going to recover from it. How much of a player we have in Gonçalo Guedes, to be absolutely honest, I don't really know what level this guy's really going to reach, but he's not going to progress further at this point in the system that we're playing, kind of being shoehorned into spots where I don't think many players are going to excel, never mind just Gonçalo Guedes. I think it's better off that if he, sits out a bit and gives the opportunity to a guy like Carcela, who's a little bit more confident. He's got that turn of pace. He can beat the guy 1v1. I think it's the right move at this point in time. The only thing is that there's a player that I think we have to mention, because for the most part he's been one of our better players since he's come back into the side, and it's Pizzi.
Yeah.
And with our 4-4-2 shape, playing Mitroglou and Jonas, you have the left side for Gaetan. If you're going to play a different type of football and you want two attacking wingers that kind of have the same kind of attributes, you do play Carcela on the other side. But the more you watch Pizzi lately, and you see he's he's bringing the things that the team needs.
Yeah.
The things, passing options, trying to play associatively. He's the guy who brings that. The thing is, he doesn't. He's not a world beater, so you're still going to see a lot of,
Yeah.
like I say every week, misplaced passes and whatnot. But he's giving you what the team needs at this moment. So I do not drop Pizzi.
Yeah. And Noon Simon on Twitter, Simon_Noon. Why not play Carcella and Gedge together? Pizzi is too inconsistent. We both disagree with you,
Yeah,
Nuno.
sorry, Nuno.
We
I
both
have
think,
to.
yeah, we both think that Pizzi is definitely at a different level this year, and perhaps it has to do with him playing in his natural position and also acquiring some of the instincts that he had from the past season, whereas a guy that is now drifting more inwards. I think that Pizzi has been pretty good. He's been one of our best players. He wasn't the best player on the field that he was voted by fans
No.
this past weekend by a long shot. I thought Jonas with 2 goals and 1 assist deserved that prize. But I think that Pizzi has been a bright spot in his team that has a lot of flaws tactically.
Yeah, I Salvio for me at this moment may drop Pizzi, but Carcela or Guedes doesn't for me.
Yeah.
I think the moment Gaetan is fit, I think that's when you might start seeing Guedes being phased out. Until then, we'll see if Carcela is capable of doing so, or if Rui Vitória thinks he's capable of doing so. But Pizzi is adding that other dimension to the game that we've been missing. A third midfielder when we need it,
Holds the ball.
width when we need it, has the ability to keep possession better because that's the only way he knows how to play. He's not. Can only play to his strength. So he's going to pass and he's going to move. He's going to pass and he's going to move.
Yeah,
So that brings in Andre Almeida. That brings in most specifically Jonas, who you see in the first goal with the back heel and whatnot. That's the type of relationships you need to build on the pitch. Guys with like-minded footballing brains, and for me, I'm not a huge Pizzi fan. I haven't been since day one. I don't think technically he's as good as he probably thinks I don't think he can do all the things he thinks he can do, but he has the tactical nous that we need.
Yeah.
He has the brain that we need at this moment.
Yeah, he's a guy that could, like you said, Steve, with the brain. He's a guy that knows when to launch the ball forward and when to hold the ball and look for a guy that's coming up from the back. And you see that a lot. Pizzi's not going to beat anyone down the wing with speed. Not at all. He's probably not even going to beat a guy one-on-one. But he's a guy that's very his criteria as far as passing and his touch and his passing accuracy is something that it's definitely one of his strengths. And the selection of his passes is also one of his strengths because it's important. I mean, if you're not going forward, and if you're not going forward with speed, it's important that when you cut out on the wing with the ball, that you make the right decision because that you're just going to give continuity to the team that's transitioning into the attack, and that I think that's something that Pizzi does well and has been doing well the past few games for us. So we'll see, but I don't think that I don't think we should take out Pizzi once Gaetan comes back. We'll see, but I don't know. So 3 points in the bag. We then later found out that Sporting played at União, a game that we got down on Benfica for last week for losing or for actually tying. Sporting went there and they lost, so we did a lot better at União than Sporting did. So we're back in it. 5 points is not a lot of points. I mean, that's a couple wins. Sporting now plays Porto on the 2nd of January. So there's another opportunity for us to get some points back on those two. But we have a very hard game against Guimarães. We travel up north to the birth city to play Guimarães, coached by Sergio Conceição, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah, so those are always, games against Vitória Guimarães have always been fiery. But with Conceição at the helm, you can expect a very fiery game, and they have a good massa associativa, if you want to call it, guys that support the team there. They have locals. They have a strong following, Vitória Guimarães. So even though the Sporting is going to be playing Porto, we have a very tough game that we need to do our part. And
absolutely,
like I said, it goes back to what I was saying. We need to do our part. As long as we do our part, then we're in good shape. Right now we don't depend on ourselves to win the championship, but we depend on being consistent, and we depend on playing well and finding some kind of a game idea to develop and to progress into something that's going to be consistent week in, week out. And right now we don't have that. And that's why we get down on the team. We're not, we're not negative Nellies. We just call it as it is. And right now, I just don't think the way Benfica is playing right now, regardless of whether we are in third or in first, I just don't see the team playing well enough to be consistent to win the league at the end of the year. So, there's January, there's guys coming back. I mean, so this could all change, obviously. But as of right now, I think that Benfica will be lucky if they finish second.
Yeah, based on what we've seen so far, there's no evidence. There's no evidence to show that we are going to keep this gap at 5 points, and to the point that it's close at the end, and maybe a direct result might get us closer. I don't know, but there's just every match is always like a struggle to create chances and a struggle to score goals. I mean, we have what's on paper because of some blowouts in games where even we blow teams out and we still didn't really make that many chances. I think what's really, if there's anything we should be proud of this year, it's how efficient we are in front of goal, because we don't create that many chances, but we're the best scorers in the league.
No, at all. Well, we got the top scorer in the league.
That's impressive if you really think about it.
Best attack in the league.
Yeah,
but just think about if we were creating half those chances.
Well, if we were creating more chances, exactly, more like another half instead.
Oh, we've benefited from a couple own goals.
Yeah, but what it really comes down to is you're watching a team that there isn't a progression. There hasn't been a progression really yet. There's been some small signs where you think, okay, maybe we're growing into something, or there's going to be a game plan that will provide us more chances, that will provide us more control in games. But it's only been in bits and pieces. It's never been something consistent. It's something you see in one game and you're like, oh, okay, we're starting to build with three at the back. We're starting to look for Jonas in different areas of the pitch. There's better movement with the guys up front, the top three guys. But then it disappears the next match, and it's hard to keep positive when the product on the pitch isn't a positive one, regardless of what happens with Porto and with Sporting, because they drop points and whatnot. But who's to say we're not going to drop points because of what we've been seeing week in, week out?
Yeah,
that's why I'm consistently quite negative about what we've seen so far. It's not really the numbers, the amount of points we're away from top spot. It's the difference in the quality of football from a Sporting or even a Porto, who I think do not play that well compared to us. And that's where I think the gulf in points is not the same within the quality of football. I mean, we're within 5 points of Sporting, but Sporting basically did what they wanted with us all three matches.
And they've been consistently better from the get-go, from day one. And Porto has had their ups and downs, but they've been consistent. And that's the reason why they will they're at this point, they're number one. They're in first position, because even though they haven't played well, they've been consistent on getting the results. And we haven't played well. We've played well at spurts, but we haven't been consistent with our results. So anyway, so that's done with. So now we got the Taça da Liga coming up. Perhaps a chance for some of these guys who haven't played a lot to get a chance playing, or as we've discussed here on the podcast previously, for all we know, this might be the only trophy that it's really within our reach. So how seriously will we be taking this Taça da Liga trophy, Steve?
As much as I kind of agree with what you just said, I'd still think we're going to approach it the same way we kind of always had. It's unfair For some of the guys who train well and are there every week to not play minutes. And I'm not talking about our boy Tarapt, or even Mr. Judicic, who's really at this point. How could you be complaining about not getting minutes when nobody's really confided in you ever to give you these minutes ever since you left Holland? I mean, you've been to Germany, you've been to England,
Yeah.
you've had chances with 3 or 4 different coaches now, and none of them have really confided in
Yeah.
you. So instead of causing a ruckus after the match and going after uh, who is not only my idol but also probably the biggest
The
symbol,
biggest
the
symbol
biggest
of the
symbol of the
living, yeah,
living symbol of the
and
club.
active.
Even though the guy probably didn't play that much for Benfica
Yeah.
compared to some others,
Yeah.
he is the biggest symbol at the club.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a time when you just put your head down and walk away and
Yeah.
do whatever he's asking, because you're not going to help yourself by
Yeah.
doing what you did. So
Yeah.
that being said, Judicic has probably burnt himself. He's not going to be one of those guys. I'd be very surprised if he's one of the guys that plays in
Yeah.
the Taça Liga. But guys like Silvio, guys like
Cristante, maybe.
Christian, perhaps his situation, like we've said, since we saw him here in the States and Toronto, that's a very awkward situation. I do not know what's going on.
Maybe
But
João Teixeira.
João Teixeira's, Nuno Santos.
Forget Nuno Santos. He's done for the season.
Wow, I missed that. Sorry, guys.
It was he suffered a ligament injury this past weekend against Porto.
I missed that completely. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So scratch that one off.
Yeah, I just to give a little. I don't know if how many of you are up to date with what happened with Judicic. So Judicic was on a bench against Rio Ave, and after the game, as it's customary, the team comes out. Even the players on the bench come out to the field, and they thank the fans. And apparently, Judicic went straight from the bench right into the tunnel. Rui Costa was at the tunnel, and Rui Costa had words with him. Apparently he got loud with Rui Costa, so the team as disciplinary process against Judicic right now, and it's very possible that Judicic won't play for Benfica ever again. I don't know if there's some frustration obviously from there, but look, he's gone from a guy who was never called to getting minutes to making the bench. That's more than Cristante can say. That's more than João Teixeira can say. So he's got to be happy with that little change of status. I know it's not a full playing gig, but nonetheless, you're making those 18. So you're obviously in a strict select group of players that they're like Steve says, that the coach is confiding in to give you contribution to the team. Now, if leaving in January is what you wanted, you got it, man. You got the right move. You got the right. The thing is that the club is just going to say, all right, there's the door, get out of here. No, I mean, I'm sure the guy's making good wages. And as Steve said, he hasn't done anything anywhere he's gone. He went to Mainz in Germany, didn't do well there. I mean, we're talking about Mainz. We're not talking about a Borussia Dortmund. We're not talking about the top 5 team in Germany. We're talking about a mid to lower team in Germany. And you couldn't break the 11 over there. Southampton, same thing. Even though Southampton's probably got a better team nucleus than Mainz. Nothing there. Didn't get many chances. And now he comes to Benfica and he's arguing that he deserves more chances. Why? What has he done? I mean, we don't watch the guy practice every day. We don't know what goes on there. But he's obviously not at a level where the coach is confident enough to give him a starting role, or even one of the first couple guys off the bench. So he's he's probably gone. But let's get back to the Taça da Liga here, and I'll give you the Benfica is in Group B with Oriental, which is another team from Lisbon, Nacional de Madeira, and Moreirense are the other 2 teams that Benfica will have to play. Benfica will open up against Nacional at Estádio da Luz on the 29th, so before the year is out. Then we will travel a short distance to Oriental to play Oriental. on the 19th of January, and on the 26th we will wrap up the group stages by traveling to Moreirense. So usually I mean, as you guys know, we've done very well in the League Cup, and all the editions that have gone on. I think that Benfica has like six wins out of 8,
Something
if
like
I'm
that.
not mistaken. So definitely a chance to give the less used players more playing time, and I think that following what's going on with the Rui Vitória as far as betting on youth and bringing up youth players, I think that he's a guy that's fair enough that he'll probably give a chance to some of these guys who have been working hard enough. Lindelof, I think Lindelof deserves a shot.
That's one for sure. I think
Yeah,
if he doesn't play, then it's not a good sign for him. I
yeah.
mean, Rui Vitória always likes to say that saying, o cavalo passa a porta uma vez por todos, uma coisa assim. Well, the horse passes by everyone's door at least once, so he's gonna have to make sure the horse passes by a couple of houses. So I think Lindelof is up there. I think João Teixeira is probably up there.
Ederson,
you know what?
Ederson will. I think Ederson will most likely.
If Tarap doesn't play in the Taça of the league, I say he never plays for the A squad at all. So
yeah, that's gonna be tough, man. That's gonna be one thing to look for. If Tarap doesn't play the Taça of the Liga, yeah, I think that yes, it's a good chance that and it seems that every time that Tarap plays, everybody's got the microscope on him. And then this weekend there was a shameful penalty that he took against Porto. So I don't know if Tarap doesn't get a chance in the League Cup. I don't know. I think we're done with Tarap. Another casting error by Benfica. So we'll see. But decent competition for Benfica. It's too bad that 2 of these games are going to happen or they have scheduled these League Cup games in January. And like I said in the beginning of the podcast, the January that Benfica will play 8 games. So that's a lot of games, and I'll run you through. So on the 2nd of January, Benfica will travel up north to the birth city to play Guimarães. Then we will host Marítimo. That's a tough game at Estádio da Luz. Then on the 10th, we will travel to Nacional at the Madeira, and hopefully the fog is gone. And then after that, we will go to Estoril to play Estoril, obviously. Then we will go to Oriental in that Taça da Liga game that I said. So Marítimo on the 6th, Nacional on the 10th, Estoril on the 17th, Oriental on the 19th. Then we will host Aroca on the 24th. And on the 26th, we will travel to Moreirense, the last game of the Taça da Liga group stages. And on the 31st, we will go to Moreirense again, this time for the league. So, Steve, besides it being a very busy month for Benfica in January with 8 games, you got games here that are absolutely crucial to see whether or not we're going to gather momentum towards the final stretch of the season or not. Guimarães is a game, especially that game coming at the heels where Porto and Sporting are playing each other that same day. That's an absolute crucial game, first game of the year. Then Marítimo is always tough at Estádio da Luz. Travel to Nacional.
That's the one.
Which Porto had a very tough time there a couple weeks ago. If you recall, there's some controversy. They had to play the last 17 minutes of the game the next day because of the fog. Estoril também não é nenhuma pera doce, especially traveling to Estoril. Aroca's
been having a good season. Honestly, you look at those fixtures, and here's where, if we're still within 5 points at that point, that's a time to start thinking, okay, we might have a good run at it, because those are all the types of games that they have question marks all over them. I mean, traditionally traveling to Madeira, look, we just had a problem with the União de Madeira. We play Marítimo at home, which is sometimes it ends up looking a lot easier than it normally should be. Aroca's had a good season. They already had our scalp once in Aveiro. Who's to say they're not going to do it in Estádio da Luz as well? If in February we're still within 5 points, I think Rui Vitória's job is safe till the end of the season.
I think his job is safe regardless.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I honestly think if the gap's more than more than 5 to 7 or 8 points. If he's pushing close to 10, I don't know if his job is as safe as people think it is. Um, but that for me is a very good measure. If in February we're looking, if we're still in it in the beginning of February with a Champions League game just around the corner, I think we're in a lot better spirits than we are right now. The only thing is, like we've said the whole podcast, there isn't much um, positive evidence to feel that we will still be in it at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah. And January, and I talked about consistency earlier, and January is definitely a month where you want to put some consistency together, especially on these mid to hard games that we're going to have in January. The Guimarães game, like I said, the Nacional game, even Estoril. I think Estoril are well coached.
Yeah,
and going to Estoril and going to these little fields is never easy. But we also don't know what's going on, what's going to go on with the January transfer window, who we're going to pick up. So we'll just have to see. But January, it's absolutely crucial to any aspirations that we may have to remain within fighting distance of the title.
Positive notes for January are Salvio, Semedo, and Luizão all should be back.
Yeah.
Let's see how fast they get into top form like they were just before they went out. Maybe Luizão, some would argue he wasn't there. So that's a positive note. For me, the two biggest keys though are Guimarães, which is just around the corner, with that direct match with the two rivals playing. You're gonna gain points on both, or at least one of them. So that's if there was ever a must-win game, that is the must-win game we've had so far, because that's going to close the gap on somebody. So let's see how that goes. That's like the first real big test of January. If that goes well, you can maybe start looking more positive. Let's see how that goes. But for me, that is a really, really key moment in the season, is that match there.
Yeah, absolutely. So crucial game, crucial month for Benfica. So we don't know, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen in January transfer window. The one sure thing is that we're going to get those guys back, and we've missed them. And I think that part of the lack of production and the lack of offensive production by Benfica is the absence of Semedo. He gave very good depth on that wing. Yeah, something that currently we don't have. We rarely see Andre Almeida getting behind the defense.
Yeah, a lot of verticality, like you say. There's a guy who will stretch you wide, and he'll get to the line where he could pass the ball back and start again, or he could deliver a cross that so many people are fans of. But it's a player that he added that extra bit that we were missing. And right now, that's probably because we haven't seen Salvio in this generation of Benfica under Rui Vitória. You can't really know what he's going to bring to the table. Well, you know what he's capable of, but you don't know how he's going to fit in what we've seen so far. But seeing the way Semedo started this season and the way he would carry the ball forward and play with Guedes, I think it's a very positive thing to have him coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's turn now to some questions. We got here one from Nelson, and I know that there's been a lot of buzz. There's been people changing their avatars on Twitter to Mourinho. I'll get into that. This is sorry about that. That was Nelson.
Quick, eh?
Let's go into that one. Hypothetically, if Mourinho is interested in the Benfica job, would you call it quits with Rui Vitória and hire Jose? Jose. Here's my thing about Mourinho. I don't question that he's a good coach. I just think that Mourinho at this point is perhaps somebody who thinks he's bigger than Benfica, and somebody with that type of attitude to come to Benfica, I think it would be detrimental to what the club is trying to do as far as the Made in Seychelles and so on and so forth. I don't think it would be a good fit for Benfica. I don't know how you feel, Steve.
I agree 100%. As good as a coach as I know he is, I I just don't think I don't think it's the right fit. I don't think we could afford to pay him for starts. I don't think there's a long-term project, which is what if if anything we could read from what's going on this season, there seems to be long-term goals and a project in place. Uh, Jose Mourinho is not
Yeah,
in it
he's not a
for
long term guy.
he's
He's not
not
a long
he's
term
not
guy.
in it for a long-term process. He's going to want to buy whichever player he knows that's available on the transfer market that could do a job for him to win a trophy this year. Which, hey, everyone wants to win trophies, but it's completely against what we think the club is trying to do, or and we would have to assume based on what we could see.
Yeah. Here's another one for Nelson, and this was actually the first one. So let's play a game. Sell, loan, play for the following players: Carcela, Juricic, and Talisca. I'm gonna go sell Juricic, loan Talisca, and play Carcela.
Uh, I would sell Judicic, sell Talishka, and play
Wait, you
Carcelo.
can only sell one guy, dude.
Oh, is that how you? Is that how it
Sell,
works?
loan, or play.
All right, so then we're matching exactly the same.
Steve wants to sell Talisca and Juricic.
Personally, yeah, that's what I would do at this point.
All right. Here's the next one, and this one's from Matthew da Silva. With points dropped by Sporting and Porto versus with points dropped by Sporting and the Porto versus Sporting coming up, do you see a chance to get back into the title race? I think there's a chance to close up the gap, but as I've said here, that consistency has to be there. I don't know if Steve wants to add something to that.
No, you got it. That's exactly what it is. We could be within I guess what 3 points if they were to tie.
Yeah. Here's another one from Matthew. Do you see Gonçalo Guedes becoming a star and living to his potential that people say, or is just overrated? I think he has potential. It all depends how he progresses. And I think that right now, I think that Rui Vitória leaving him exposed to the criticism and the fans' dislikes of what goes on, because he Guedes is far from being the one guy that's culpable in this whole thing, but I think that he suffers from what the team has been doing, and I think that Rui Vitória has to do a good job of shielding him and protecting him from the fans, because his confidence is already low as is, and the fans' criticisms could be detrimental to a kid that may not have the mental strength to deal with something like that.
I think that's a great answer. The thing with Guedes is I've never been able to really gauge how good he really is. I mean, you watch Renato and you see it really quickly what he's good at, what he's capable of doing. Just to Smith, same. To harp on something that's an old wound that's always going to be at the back of our mind. Bernardo Silva, you watch him play, you know that touch is velvet. You know what he has. You watch Gonçalo Guedes, and he seems to be decent at everything, but you don't see what. For me, anyway, I've never been able to see. Okay, that's what he's really really good at, and that's why he's going to be a star. I still don't see it, so I don't know. That's why I said earlier I don't know what level he will ever achieve. It's hard for me to say because I don't think he's a bad player, but I've never seen that extra special bit that I know will make him a really good player. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Here's one from Neil. 5 points from first. Perhaps a few new arrivals in January and the return of a few injured players. Then we beat Porto and Sporting, and maybe you were there. Neil, I think that it's all fine and dandy. You could beat Porto and Sporting, but if you don't win the other games, that's not going to do you any good.
It's a lot of ifs. That's what it really
comes into. Mike DeCosta, when we were talking about consistency, Mike DeCosta saying we can say the same the same about Porto. though. Don't see consistency there, or starting 11 that is always used. Mike, I think the big difference between Porto and us is that their squad is deeper than ours, and they're able to rotate and not lose a lot of the quality. And believe it or not, Opek Shin or one hand tied behind their back, they're winning games and they're first for a reason.
Yeah, they didn't get there by chances for one way to look at it. Uh, Even then, I still think that they have, although I don't really like the way they play, per se, that it's not my type of football. I still think they have a slightly more clear identity in how they want to go about things, how they want to create chances, than what we do. I still think they're a better team than us at the moment. So
Yeah. Here's one from Meg. We still have the chance to win, but like Steve says, the more I see, the more I become less of a fan of Rui Vitoria, sadly. So far, I mean,
nice guy, super nice guy, super nice guy. I mean, awesome guy, really nice guy.
There's some
But
positives. He's a nice guy, and he's introduced quite a few youngsters to the team. That's the only thing you could do, right? That you could say positive about him so far.
that's what it
And
comes
that he
down
could speak Portuguese. None of this foreign coach stuff.
As a shot to our competitors, one who speaks Portuguese about as poorly as I do, and
Yeah.
is Portuguese, and one who speaks Portuñol. So
um, here's one from Nun Simon. Do you guys think we should still pick up a number 8 in January? Sanch is great, but I'm worried you will get burnt. And I think that a couple pods or last week we spoke about this. I think right now that we found our number 8, but that there is a possibility of him getting burnt out. Not burnt out physically, because I mean, as a freaking 18-year-old man, you could play 3-4 matches and not even feel it. But the mental aspect of it is something that you have to play at this high level, Steve.
yeah, I think I kind of disagree with your comments about the 18-year-old and playing 3 or 4 games. I honestly think stamina is something that you actually build on, and an 18-year-old doesn't
It
have.
recovers faster though.
He recovers faster off of like an injury or whatnot, but I don't know if he has the same stamina that he will have when he's 24, 26, that maybe even 24 to 28, if you want to stretch it a little bit longer. I think that's when you're most when you're able to play the most amount of matches in a season is around then. But that's kind of deviating from the point where
Yeah.
where he was asking whether or not I think we should buy an 8.
Yeah.
I think the really good question is who the 8 is.
Yeah.
I think a guy who doesn't take too many minutes from Ronaldo,
Yeah.
but can also be a valid contributor at the
Yeah.
same time
Yeah.
is the key. If you can't find that in the January transfer window,
Yeah.
I think there is other areas of the pitch where you can make uh, a much easier buy to improve the squad.
Yeah.
Namely left back, which I think we're almost on the verge of confirming one. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
And I think that I had mentioned that I think 2 or 3 pods ago. I thought that perhaps it would be a good idea to bring a seasoned veteran that's not going to take minutes from Renato Sanchez, but at the same time could be a guy that can mentor Renato Sanchez, a guy that could offer positive advice to Renato Sanchez. But that's a very unique,
It's a very specific buy.
unique niche guy that these guys aren't just sitting out there waiting for you to pick them up.
I couldn't even think of one that we could actually pick up at this moment. So
Yeah. Here's another one from Matthew. Would you agree that the form of the team went down more after Luizon's injury and also other injuries, Nico, Salvio, and Nelson? I think that Salvio is definitely we missed that, but we haven't had Salvio since the beginning of the season, so we really don't have anything to judge against. I think Lisander's been doing a pretty good job.
I don't miss Luizão, and I don't want to say it that way, but Lisander's done perfectly fine since coming in. I what Louison was good at, what was really controlling the way the back line moved and whatnot, and the whole team has got to be in sync, and that wasn't really there this year yet.
Yeah.
So I don't miss Louison.
Yeah.
Uh, I think Gaetan, just because we're missing a game changer, and we even with George Zouge and a fine tuned system with a clear identity on how we want to play, we still really miss Gaetan when he was out.
Yeah.
So if there's a player that we really miss right now, even more than Simidu, it's got to be Gaetan for the past
Yeah.
couple of games.
I agree, and I think the lineup will somewhat change. To answer another one of your questions, Matthew, the lineup will somewhat change when some of those guys return. I think it's very, for me, it's hard to imagine that Louison will go to the bench. Captain of the team, leader of the team. I
You know
doubt.
what?
I doubt it.
That would take a lot of balls. That would
Yeah.
take a lot of balls. But
Yeah, and Vitoria doesn't really strike me as a guy with
I don't.
that
Yeah,
type of balls.
I
Those
don't.
type of balls.
I don't think he's going to do that. I think if Luizão comes back and he's obviously at a level below Lisandro, it'll make it easier for Rui Vitoria. But I think as soon as Luizão's in somewhat type of game match rhythm ready, match fit, like the English like to say, once he reaches that level, I think he's going to walk into the side again. Whether it's fair to Lisandro or not, I think it's just a matter of reputation and clout, really.
Yeah. Steve, I'll let you answer this one because this one's directed at you. It says, "Hey, Steve Santos, tell us a little about Grimaldo. Media reports are calling it a closed deal."
Grimaldo, to be absolutely honest, I haven't watched him for about a year. So I remember a Grimaldo who can play the whole flank. So basically, what Simidu was offering for us at the beginning of the season is what Grimaldo can do on the left side, with perhaps better feet than Simidu. Nice touch on the ball, good first touch. Definitely a more attacking fullback than a defensive one. That being said, at the his tender age, I think you could still instill a lot of defensive um, skills into him. For me, is an obvious step up from Eliseu. I think he will quickly take away his spot. I like him. I think it's a good move on our part. It's a young player. It's a player who coming up through the ranks at Barcelona was um, always touted as being the next left back at Barca. So that's obviously a guy who has the talent that we need. So let's just see how he progresses into first flight football. But for me, it's a good buy. I'm for it. The only thing that kind of scares me is I have not watched much of him since I believe he had a cruciate ligament injury a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
that's the part that kind of worries me, that I haven't seen a lot of him since then. Just because time doesn't permit me to watch Barca B like I used to. But it's definitely it's got to be a step up from Eliseo from what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so too. Especially a young kid with a good margin of progression. I'm not. I've heard good things about him as far as going forward. I don't know about the defending and where he stands on that, but we'll see. Those are things that could be taught. You can't, like Cristiano says, you can't teach speed and you can't teach Jenga, and that's something that this kid had, from what I understand.
What's next? Highs and lows of the season so far from Nilu. Mr. Neil.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
There's,
it's too early.
a high with winning at
Yeah,
the winning at the
winning.
Calderon is a high. We can't say that it's not a high.
Well, but I mean, this season or this year? This season, yeah,
This,
The
yeah,
Calderon win.
that's the high.
The low, the
Um,
losing to Sporting 3 times.
yeah, I think the introduction of Renato, even though he's kind of tapered off a little bit lately, I think that's definitely another high. Here's one for something that we should have mentioned earlier. A moment of Benfiquismo, like you like to say, Alfredo. the goal celebration, Jonas, this weekend.
Yeah.
That's up there. That's
You
up
know,
there. I'm a guy who likes tactics and likes football based on what happens inside the four lines. But that was a clear sign of emotion that I would have to say I really enjoyed.
that's it. That's a typical move by a veteran player. You got the
Fans whistling you.
you got the fan base who is basically on your ass the whole game. You're also feeling a little bit of a disconnect. You got the issue that you had at the Madeira on the coming out of the stadium. Then again, arriving in Lisbon, more fans contesting the team. What Jonas did? That's a clear intended move to approximate or to bring the fans back and to tell the fans we're still here. Please don't give up on us. And that's what veteran players know how to do and do. Those guys, it's a lot more. There's a lot more to the game than just that, and they know exactly what they should do in order to bring the fans into the game and back with the team. Whether it's words in a press conference, and we've seen time and time again. We've seen our old coach how he used to motivate. He used to talk about the red wave, the red wave, and and to excite fans and to bring fans to the stadium. And what Jonas did. It's very clear. It's very clear what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep the fans there with them, even though a lot of them are ready to turn their back on this team. Regardless of what happens, I myself, I won't never turn my back on the team. But there's a lot of guys that are writing off this team already.
Oh.
I might be.
I think you just went backwards.
Wait a second.
I think.
Wait a second.
Let me try to clear this up for you. We don't believe that they will win the league, but we're not here to be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be the guy at the stadium freaking yelling and screaming at Eliseu and whistling. That's what we're trying to get at.
Yeah. At this point in time, I don't think that the team has shown me enough that they could be the champions playing like this. If they play like this throughout the rest of the season, they're not going to be champions. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. From what I've seen so far, this doesn't look like a championship team. Whether the gap is small, whether the other guys are just as bad as us, that's a different story. But as it stands right now, I don't think that this team has done well enough to be within 2 or 1 point of the leaders or even be in the lead.
Yeah.
So
gotta agree with that.
That's what it is. I think that we're gonna wrap this up. Next week, no podcast next week. We're going to take a break. We have the game against... I
think the Taça de Liga is on the 29th.
The Taça de Liga is on the 29th, which is that Tuesday. It's that Tuesday that we usually do the podcast. We're gonna take a break. Obviously, we have Christmas at the door a couple days from now, and we have New Year's festivities, which a lot of times involves time spent with the family and time spent away from the TV screen, so on and so forth. So we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna try to put something together as far as a highlight clip for what we've done so far. I'll see if I have some time to do that. And that's about it. I wanted to wish everyone that listens to this podcast a very Merry Christmas, regardless of what religion and what you believe in. I wish you a Merry Christmas because that's what I believe in. And also a very Happy New Year to everyone with tons of health and prosperity. And I wish you double of what you wish me. Does that make sense? No, I
don't know, man. I've never heard that one before. But I'll have to be on the same card as
I'll wish
everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well.
I wish double of what I wish for myself.
Are you trying to do some Portuguese to English translation in your head?
Something like that. No, just it's been tremendous. Everyone's support, and this season so far it's been challenging. So hang in there with us. But everyone's support, and I hope that everyone has a very Merry Christmas and a healthy Christmas together with your families. And I know that sometimes time spent with families can be a little stressful for some people. But just hang in there. It's Christmas. Do your thing. Open some presents. If you don't like the socks that your aunt Maria gave you, just don't worry about it. Just smile and say thank you. Be nice. Everybody be nice. Don't drink too much. And if you drink, please don't drive. So
words of wisdom.
Yeah, make sure. Make sure everybody makes into the new year alive, and we don't lose any followers that way. That would be a terrible way to lose a follower. So that's it. Planetbenfica.co.uk is where our friends are at in the UK. I would Benfica's .spreadshirt.com is where you can find Sergio's shirts. BenficaPodcast.com, at Steve Santos 6, at 10CO10. Chris wanted to be here, but unfortunately he got called into work, so he had to leave. At Talking to the Doll is my personal one, and I think that's it. I hope that, like I said, everyone has a happy holiday, and we'll talk to you again in the new year. That's right, in the new year. So for me, Steven, Cristiano, and the rest of the guys that are usually with us, goodbye, and see you again next week. Next week? No, next year.
Ciao.
See ya.